Hello. How you doing? Holy camoly. Well, I'm hoping tonight's going to be a good night. Hey, everybody. Um, I am hoping things are going to go well. We got kind of a new setup here, and I I don't know what it is with my luck and technology and all that stuff, but man, this last 15 minutes here, for some reason, my camera wasn't recognizing in the browser and everything. And I was like, oh my God, no, don't do this to me. Anyway, hopefully you can all hear me fairly well. Let me see here. Fairly well. Let me see how my audio is reading. Looks like it's reading really well. So yeah, good. The crazy stuff. So tonight we're going to have our Spindle TV exclusive class, and then tomorrow we're going to have our public class. So just this week we pushed back a day. Been working out in the shop, clearing out that building and getting machines and things set up and stuff. And we're moving my big 4x4 over from my small building to my big building tomorrow. So that's going to be an exciting, exhausting day. Can I get a sound check from everybody? Can you let me know, just because everything is kind of, I'm in the air. In the chat, just let me know if you can hear me and see me okay and all that good stuff. We'll go from there. Okay, wonderful. Hey, Chad Jones, thanks for that shout out. I appreciate that. Everything is, thanks, Roger. I appreciate that. Thanks, DG Custom Crafts, man. Thank you, Rodween. All right, good. Okay, thank you. Everything's still not 100% right now. Literally this week, we're like I said, I'm moving everything out of the building and getting things organized. That was, it's been exhausting. My buddy who was supposed to be helping me didn't get to help me, so I've been moving like 4x8 machines by myself and just all of our other heavy equipment and everything, and it's been brutal. Thank God for caster rollers and all that stuff. But I'm getting ready to get cameras set up out there, a camera that's going to be for videoing and everything out there that I can stream with the internet and all that. So, I mean, really, this weekend is a big weekend for getting things moving along. My buddy said, "Oh, I'll be there Saturday and Sunday, I promise." I was okay. All right, that's good. So we're going to be moving the big machines and getting set up, and it's great because this project that we're doing tonight, where last week, which by the way, I got to make the files available to you all. We made kind of that cutting board with the integrated little crumb tray that can get dumped, and the bread knife, right? The frame of the bread knife and everything. Well, between give me just 1 second. Hold on, I got a red light on my microphone. Test it 1, 2. Test it 1, 2. I don't know why I got a red light on my microphone, but one more time, can you give me a sound check? Make sure you can still hear me. Had a red light like the battery was dead. I don't know what the deal was but thank God for backup microphones. I lost my train of thought there. Oh, so tonight, the Breadbox project that we're making, I'm making this, not just to make or anything like that. It's going to be a design that I'll make available to you guys. I think it'd be a great project that would sell. That was my windsock. We're getting it. Hold on a minute. There we go. I think it'll be a great project that'll sell, but also I'll show you in just a minute. I need it in my kitchen. I'm going to show you why. I've been if any of you have been following me on Facebook since January 1st or whatever, you'll see that I've been kind of regenerating my hobby, cooking, baking, whatever. And for me, I had to, right? I love CNC. I love woodworking and everything, but with working with digital wood carver and everything, I have over 5,000 customers, 24-hour a day support, Monday through Saturday. Sunday's our day of rest. And it's just woodworking, CNC, 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 and there's no life outside of it, right? There's nothing. And so I don't get burnout. I just turned 50, big 50 in September, this past September. And so I don't get burnout. My mind has to be able to do some other things, right? I don't have a life. I don't go out. I don't party. I don't drink. I don't date. I don't do anything. It's just literally woodworking 24/7. I mean, just like woodworking, right? Focusing on trying to get this shop up and all that stuff, right? So I've been baking and everything, and really, just sharing some of the recipes and some of the treats and stuff that I've been making and everything. It's been really well. And today made some bread, homemade bread. Had my mom with me, right? Played a big role in it and everything. But let me get Ronnie on the screen here. Hold on a second. Let me get Ronnie up here.
Hey, Ronnie, welcome. So I'm literally just a few minutes. I'm going to share with you some product. And I need a place to put the bread. These beautiful
loaves came out of the oven today, and you don't have a bread box for it. So this project not only is the Tambour Lid is really what's exciting me about this project, the Tambour Lid, because this Tambour Lid can be the things that I hope I teach you tonight could be applied to other, like entertainment center cabinets or storage cabinets or whatever, where the sliding tambour lid, how to figure out your radius, all that stuff and everything. So everything, smooth, roll smoothly. Hopefully those are the important things that I'm hoping that comes out of this project. The bread box is just the bonus, right? That's just the end result and all. That's what I'm using it. So don't let, just because it's not a simple, but it's a bread box and like, oh, it doesn't really interest me. It's not really that. It's the learning of what I'm hoping to teach you. And I need you guys and girls, it's late at night on Thursday. We're going to put on our thinking caps because I'm going to be sharing a little bit of math with you now. So I don't want to, it's not going to be complicated, but I just want to, there's a little bit of math involved, right? We want to show you that and kind of teach you how to utilize it to your advantage. Okay. Let's, Ronnie, first of all, hey, buddy, how you doing?
doing great.
Hey, just if you don't mind, and let me just brag on you for a little bit. Ronnie made his first 3D carving from what I understand this past week. And man, dude, it turned out really well. In my opinion, I don't know I know you said you were happy with it, but man, it really turned out good.
Yeah, I was really stoked about it. And again, kudos to you and your team for creating that high detail model. Just a big shout out to you on that. And anybody in the group, if you're ever looking for somebody, Laney and his team, if you need a 3D model, high res 3D model, you guys knocked it out of the park. Thanks a lot.
Good. Yeah, man, yeah, no, that's no problem. I'm glad that we were able to help. And you and I worked together, gold members, just like Ronnie, gold members. Remember now, you can schedule time with me, one-on-one time with me, if you ever need to work one-on-one and stuff. Ronnie, we worked together on his project and helped him kind of, understand the little layout and everything. And he carved it and shared pictures with me, and it was so stoked. So I'm glad that worked out well for you, and hopefully it's a stepping stone to more, right? More and more, 3D carving and learning and all. Now, again, tonight's project, it's a bread box, right? It's like, woo, there's nothing really exciting about it. I'm going to add some things, that I hope are kind of exciting for, someone but it's a nice project that could come in at a really good price point, for selling. And if you're doing craft shows and things like that, it's just another feather in your cap, right? Another thing that you could add. And man, I'm going to tell you what, I if I didn't have the woodworking skills or the ability to make it, and I wanted a bread box, I think it's going to look good, and I think you'll be happy with it. All right. With that being said, Ronnie, I'm going to jump over. I still haven't, like I was telling them earlier before you got here, not 100% yet. So I'm not doing the where I can share the screen with both of us still live. It's still kind of like I have to go full screen and all that stuff. Did get another system. Still working out the. It's not 100% like the way I want it to have all the cameras and everything, but it should help the stream tonight. Now, if we buffer, it's not my fault this time, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So with that being said, let me switch over. We're going to go full screen. And I was hoping that we would see Jared tonight. I wanted to tell him that sorry, I hadn't got with him on his project yet. I got to get that this week. All right. So we are full screen, and let me switch over. Give me just a moment here, and let me switch over. Now, Ronnie, you're going to be my eyes and ears in case something happens that I need. And you need. Don't worry about interrupting talking. I mean, you tell me if something's going wrong on the screen. All right, let's see here. Let's go over to here, and it's Ronnie, you weren't here, but I was telling them right at the last minute before starting class, my camera wasn't getting recognized by the system. I was like, oh my goodness, what happened? It's like me and electronics just are we're batting 1,000 today. All right, so there is that, and we should be all set. Let me get my little chair down there in the bottom left corner while I'm here. Pretty soon, eventually, I'm going to be able to do all this from one location without having to move over. All right, so let's switch that down there. All right. Okay, here we go. Now, before we get started, I'm going to take a sip of tea because I'm dying of thirst. All right, and I hope everybody's doing really well. I'm, again, 2025, I'm hoping to be a positive year. So stick with me through all these silly little things, and then we're gonna really rock and roll. I want this channel to be something that you guys are gonna get a lot of benefit from, not just these Wednesday night classes. I got to start making content like PDFs and things like that you get like as bonuses and all for your money and time and effort and support, right? I want to support you as much as you're supporting me and giving you the things that you need. So I've got a lot of plans, and it all is going to really stem from when I get this shop set up. Man, when I can get out there and I can make projects and take photos and then be able to put those photos in like a PDF, like a build document and all that stuff, that's what I'm really shooting for. All right, before we get rocking and rolling here, I want to share with you a photo. This came out of my oven tonight. So I am really stoked about that. Beautiful. Oh God, they taste so good too. I didn't eat them all. I only had one slice, but made some bread. Now, the reason why I'm so excited about this is this is the first loaves of bread that that have ever come out of our kitchen, right? You know, ever. And I'm super happy with it. Not a problem with that in the world. The only problem is I don't have a box to put it in. So let's talk about that, and then we'll go from there. Let's go over here, and one more little bragging photo. I did have a slice of it, and man, it is just so good. There's that knife and everything we were talking about. Didn't make the cutting board with the breadcrumb catcher in it that we made last week. Got to get that made so I can use that. But there you go. All right, enough playing around. So I want to stress one of the things here is you're going to see, we're going to be building a Breadbox from scratch tonight. But I want to use an example of a Breadbox that from a wood shop online, and the give me just a second. Give me just a second. I want to give him a proper shout out. Go to bookmarks. Build a TV. Proper shout out. On Etsy, the store is GT Woodshop Creations. He's out of the UK. He makes some great projects, very cool projects on YouTube. He has GT Woodshop Creations. He's got some, what am I trying to say? He's got some good project tutorials and stuff. And one of his shop items is this jig for making Tambour Lid bread bins, bread boxes, right? And the jig is for, like, if you're using a hand router, band saw, table saw, and everything that's not a CNC, right? And so this $8 plan, it's a great little NDF little jig. It tells you, to cut your parts, drop them in here, run the router around this template. It shows you in the PDF. It shows you how to make the templates and everything. And you could, if you were just getting started with CNC, or even if you have a CNC, but you want to, maybe you can translate this over to the CNC, or you just want to use your other tools in your shop. This is a cool little PDF for making these very simple design boxes here. Just there's no like drawers or lid, it's just a Tambour lid box, right? So the dimensions and the things that you see on the screen here are relative of the that box and the size and everything. But the information over here, this is all me. We're going to try to work these details out and everything, and all. But we're going to be creating from scratch, but we're going to be pulling from some of this information and everything. Now, the plans, his plans and everything, they're in metric versus inches and all that stuff. We're going to be working in inches and all. I'm not going to throw no metric at you tonight, but maybe one day in the future. Let me bear with me just a second. Let me see if bear with me just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Where is my... Oh, it's right there in front of me. Man, I'm going blind. All right. The box itself... hold on a second. I got to close this window. Give me just a minute. Lord have mercy. Laney, come on. Thought I was all prepared. Okay. So let's start a new project here. Let's come over here, and I'm using now all this. There's no modeling, nothing here. Desktop Pro Aspire. Any one of them you could work in. I'm just happen to be working in Aspire because it's kind of like my go-to on my computer here. We're going to create a new file. And for the rough dimensions of the lumber, we're going to go just like a 12 by 9. 12 by 9, 3/4 inch thick. Okay. And we're going to, for this, I'm just going to touch off on the material surface. I'll start in the bottom left-hand corner and I'm going to go here. Now, on this box, I'm going to go a little bit taller than the 9 inches. And because on the upper part of the bread box, I want a drawer for miscellaneous stuff. It could be for a knife, you know, a bread knife, or what have you, just a little drawer, a little pull-out drawer. And then on the bottom of it, excuse me, there's going to be a breadboard that pulls out. So the my initial 12 by 9, I'm going to go with a size that's 11.875 by 8.875. Let's go center, just about like that. And let's try that again. 7.875. There we go. Okay. So the work area, let's go a little bit wider. Now these are you're going to glue up your panels. This is not like you're not going to pull this out of a 1x10 or 1x12, blah, blah, blah. You're going to glue up panels. And I happen to have some not an abundance, but I have a decent little stack of cherry and maple. I'm going to use cherry, and I was thinking about maple for the cutting board. I don't know if that would look stupid or not. I might just go all cherry, but you know, whatever wood you want to use, but we need to go taller. So the drawer that I'm going to incorporate in this is going to just be a shallow, like 2-inch drawer. Just again, enough for like a knife or something to lay in and all that stuff. So I'm going to add, just for my backboard and everything, I'm going to add 3 inches for that. And then the breadboard is going to be 1 inch thick. The breadboard is going to be 1 inch thick, so I need an inch there. So I'll just add another 2 inches. So 3 and 2 is 5. So let's go 14 inches on the height. The 12 inches is going to stay 12. So here's what I have: 12 by 14 by 3/4, and we're going to click OK on that. All right. So on the on the top part of the oh, Lord have mercy. Let me get up here. On the top part, we have, and I'm trying to see if I have my, there you are, Lar. All right, make sure y'all are staying with me. Okay, I'm going to make another box, another rectangle, and this is going to kind of represent where the knife knife drawer. There you go. Thank you very much. I want the drawer, like I said, is going to be roughly about 2 inches. So I need to give myself a little bit of room above and below. So we're going to go 2 3/8. Okay, it's going to be that. Going to set that there. Going to move all of this up. And down below, the box, we're going to go full on, and there is going to be, we're going to be routing a groove. This is going to be a solid panel, and we're going to be routing a groove, and the cutting board is just going to slide into that groove, right? Like a drawer. It's going to, on the end of the cutting board, we can make a little pull or whatever, but it's going to pull right out. And so it's going to be a little crumb board and everything. So like I said, the cutting board is 1 inch thick. I don't want my my groove to be exactly 1 inch. I need a little bit of play, a little bit of room, and everything. So I'm going to give it just a 1/8 of an inch, and the cutting board itself, if we look at last week's design, let's click apply for a minute. If we look at last week's design, if you remember last week's cutting board that we did, that particular cutting board was, let me get over to the breadboard here. It was 9.5 inches wide, and it was 15 inches long, right? And so the length is probably going to change with our breadboard, but we'll see there. But the 9.5 inches, I want to kind of keep it at that and everything. So let's go back to our design, and it's this breadboard is the same with that insert, the crumbs and all. That's the breadboard. You know, that's why this is kind of like a part 1 and part 2, because they kind of play hand in hand. And this could be just a simple breadboard that you have sitting on your counter, or it could be the one that's integrated into this bread box. And so when we come back here, my breadboard is 9.5 inches wide. I want the breadboard, it's going to be a nice fit when it goes in, slides in and everything. And when it's slid all the way in, I kind of want it like the edge flush. I will end up, if this is going to be part of the breadboard, there's going to be a faceplate that we're going to look at putting on here with a little decorative, you know, design on it and everything. And that's going to it's going to be a full faceplate, right? So I want my width to just be that 9.5 plus like a 1/16, you know, just where it doesn't bottom out, you know, if something's off or what have you. So let's go 9.5625. Click apply. Okay, now that goes up here to the front there. Okay. And on this, I don't want the groove like too far down and all, but you got to remember there's still a bottom to this box, right? There's a bottom board, and that bottom board is 3/4 of an inch thick. So let's kind of pretend to draw that in on here. I'm just drawing all the vectors. And the reason why I'm not doing this in SketchUp is because I'm an idiot, and I forgot all about, I was like, oh, I should have installed SketchUp to 3D draw this so we can see it all come together. And yeah, that didn't happen. All right, let's go here. And come on, dude. I'm thinking that I want my panel to be I want my panel to be a 1/2 inch on the bottom. I don't want a full 3/4. Because the bottom let me think. The back is going to be 1/4 inch. The back. I'm trying to think of all the sides that get covered and grooved. The back is going to be 1/4 inch ply. It doesn't need to be hardwood. I could go hardwood on the whole thing, but 1/4 inch ply. And then, so yes, the bottom's going to be a 1/2 inch. Let me go back in there and change that. 2.5. All right, all right. Okay. And then there's going to be a 3/8 of an inch space. Going to move this down. So a relative move, I'm going down negative 0.375. It's going to be that. And the jaw up here, the top of the box is also trying to make it simple, like where we don't have to do a whole lot of planing and surfacing and stuff. It's going to be 3/4. So let's go here. The jaw is going to be 2 inches, 0.2. Oh, 0.2, 2.0. Let's go 7 inches. All right, if I select that and center it, okay. All right. I swear this will make sense in 2 minutes, 2 seconds. All right, going to take our scissors and trim that together. This is going to be rounded off here on the front. We're going to have that tambour lid, and we're going to go sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm using my, I should use my calculator. Matter of fact, I am going to use I'm going to use the damn software. Here we go. I need to translate on my curve here. I need a guideline. I'm going to drag a guideline from the front of my box, this main body of this box here. And from the bottom of my box, I need a guideline down here. Let's use the software, Lainey. I don't know why I'm getting stupid tonight. All right, so we're going to go up relative, and it's going to be a distance of roughly about 60 millimeters, and we're going to multiply that by the letter I to convert it to inches. And we're going to draw a guideline there. And then we're going to come back relative on this guideline. It's going to be 138 millimeters. We're going to multiply that by the letter I to convert that to inches. And click create. And I went the wrong way. Needs to be a negative number. Okay. And that gives me a pivot point for a compass. And the distance of our compass, the radius and everything, basically imagine, your compass. Imagine you have one needle here and the other, right at the edge of the board. We're going to be running that compass up to here and creating that arc, right? So that compass is going to be a radius. I'm going to use that for my circle. Radius of, or a distance, times I equals, we're going to create that right here. It was definitely a radius, not a diameter. Do, 140 times I equals. So multiplying by I is what gives the, multiplying by the letter I is what gives the millimeters to inch conversion and everything. And so I was just a little off. Let me grab my circle here. It needs to come out to here. And up to there. There we go. All right. So let's trim with the scissors. Let's get rid of, oh, it's going to require me to, I'm touching there. Let's trim this away and see if it trims. Nope. Got to have a little bit of overlap. Vetric is saying, hey, you got to have a little overlap. So let me bump that up just a bit to where there's an intersection there. Oh, yeah, I wasn't even close on that one. Okay. Now I can take my scissors and trim. So this is a radius of 145 millimeters, 5.18 on there. And we can go into the measure tool. And we can look at the arc dimension of this part. So about 5.518. So little right around 5.5 inches and all. You can round up if you want and all. I'm just going with a method that I know works and everything from the plans and stuff that I was talking about earlier. So that's going to be the front of the box is going to have that radius. Let's take our scissors and get rid of everything else. So sorry, somebody is trying to get my attention. So let's make sure that make sure it was none of you guys alerting me. The trim that, get rid of all this excess stuff. Okay. So that's going to be the front shape of our bread box. I said that on the front here, that's what's throwing me off. My board isn't wide enough. I need to go a little bit wider Let's go just 14 inches. I'm going to go a little bit wider. There we go. Now I got some room to work. On the front of my bread box, we're going to do a little bit of kind of like a faceplate, if you will. So imagine we're looking at this from the side. We're going to draw out the groove here in just a minute. That's where all the exciting stuff comes in on this, but the body is just base. It's just a basic shape for literally you got two sides, left and right. You got a back and a front, and you know, all that. So it's not really glamorous unless we make it that way. So on the top here, there's going to be a little faceplate to the top of the jaw. And you don't want your jaw fronts to be real bulky and heavy and things like that. What I'm going to do is probably we're going to start off with a 3/4 inch board, and then we're going to mill away a majority of the meat and stuff, leaving like a nice little design and everything, like a 3D model. We're going to use some of the clip art that's already included with Vectric, the Vectric standard clip art and stuff, and create like an ornate design on the front of the jaws and all. And the breadboard, if this breadboard was incorporated with the box, not just on the shelf and all, the face plate, if you will, is, would be kind of a permanent thing, or we can hinge it to where the faceplate hinges down, and then we pull the breadboard out, and then and all. That way, the breadboard is still its own independent item, right? It doesn't have a faceplate screwed to it, glued to it, none of that stuff. I think that's kind of going to be the way that we're going to go. All right, so those, if they're all milled down, they're going to probably be a 1/2 inch thick, 0.5, and I'm trying to draw a side profile so you can see, kind of get an idea what's going on, but we're going to go a 1/2 inch thick on this, and the face plate is going to go all the way up to the bottom of the box. This area right here, I wish I could color it in. That's the bottom of our box. That's the bottom. That's what the bread is sitting. The loaf of bread is sitting here inside that box, and it has whatever, right? So the bread's in here and everything in the box, and so that is the bottom of the box right here. And then the sidewall goes down further than the bottom of the box, and then there's a slot carved in the sidewall for the bread box to slide in. So it slides into here. And so let's take and move this out of the way for a minute. Let's take our scissors and trim this away so that you're going to have that opening right there, for the bread box. And we're going to create this groove. We need that rectangle. I just wanted to show you kind of what that looks like, right? So we're going to undo that. And the lid, we're going to have it, when it's closed, it's going to be here, and there's going to be a decorative element. So let's pretend that on the face of this, we'll just pretend that this is kind of the decorative element, right? And we'll draw that on another sheet here in just a minute for both the lids, both the front door. Now this is going to actually be part of the jaw. It's going to be the face to the jaw, so it's actually connected to the jaw. It's going to be a little pull-out jaw. So this is going to be a 1/2 inch, and wide 0.5. Now here let me zoom in. Let's get rid of that. The drawer, let me get it up there. It's going to fit, I mean, not so tight. There's going to be just a small little bit between, let me slide this up just a little bit. There's going to be a small little bit and everything so that it's just kind of riding right up above and all that stuff. And then you'll have there's going to be a pull and everything. And then everything, when it, when that drawer pulls out, right? It's whatever. There's going to be a knife inside, all that stuff, and blah blah blah. So when it slides out, it's going to pull out, and when it comes back, it's just going to slide right under that the top of the box and right in there. And this should be I don't think it should be flush. I think it should be just, let me put a fillet on it. 1/8 inch radius, 0.125. Yeah. Like that. Now that's going to be the top of this side piece. So technically, let's close this, or not close. Let's take our scissors and trim that. So that's going to be part of that box. Okay. So we have a drawer that's going to go in here. So I need a rectangle to represent that slot for the drawer. And then we're going to, and I don't want it too, again, I don't want that groove too tight. It's just going to be 2 grooves, that the drawer is going to slide in on each of these edges here. So I don't want them to be too tight. So basically it's going to be an offset of this rectangle, and it's going to go outward, square corners, and it's going to offset outward 0.03125. Select new. $30. That's I don't want to make things too tight for myself. Yep. Okay. Now, the drawer does not go all the way to the back here. There's some meat. There's a back panel. The back panel is, like I said, going to be a 1/4 inch. And there's going to be a groove in here that the back panel goes in. It's not going to be, there's not going to be a rabbet on the ends. It's going to be a groove on the inside, offset inward, about 1/8 of an inch. So this 1/4 inch back panel is going to go the full length here, all the way down. And I want it to be a 1/2 inch from the bottom, 0.5. That was close. There. It's going to be off the back. I'm going to move it off the back 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to use the move tool, and we're going to move relative 0.125 in the positive direction. And this, again, we're going to have a router groove cutting this out. You'll see the tool paths. It'll all make sense. You'll be able to, when we make the tool path, it'll all make sense of what this is looking. This is the inside of the panel that we're kind of creating and all. And then up here, it's going to be a 1/2 inch from the top. So that's a negative. So this will come down. Okay. And let me take this guideline and make a 3/4 inch guide, negative 0.75. Yes, exactly. That's going to be, because there's going to be a groove in that, that top piece goes all the way across. So there's going to be a groove in there for this top piece to fit into the back piece. All right, perfect. The bottom, this solid piece of wood here for the bottom, it is going to, let me think of the best way for this to look good. It's going to go here. All right, so this back is going to have, it can't be one solid panel. Let me think. I'm trying to think for the glue up, what's the easiest. Okay, so we're gonna have it come in. This bottom is going to go all the way to the back of the side. This one is going to come in and rabbit in there all the way, good, because again, the bottom goes all the way across. It's going to be a rabbit all the way across for that. And then here on the bottom, the back of the bottom here, this, I want to close off the back. I don't want to be able to see the cutting board from the back side, because the cutting board is going to stop here. It's a dead pocket, so it stops there no matter what. But so we'll have a second piece that all right, here's the layout. We're going to go 1/4 inch, negative 0.25 from the top for that. So that's going to be that groove. And this one's going to be going up 1/4 inch for the bottom piece. Ooh. So I made that bottom piece a 1/2 inch. That's, can't do that. We'll make it 3/4. Again, I haven't designed this yet, so this is, we're designing it right now. We'll make this one 3/4. So size from the top, I'm going to push it down 3/4. Okay. So from here, we'll go up 1/4 inch. And on that one, we'll delete that. All right, so this groove in the top for the back panel is going to get mortised into the bottom piece, 1/4 inch. And then the bottom piece, we'll have a small bottom piece that'll get mortised in to a 1/4 of an inch into that back part. Let's go there. Turn those off for a minute. This needs to come up. This rectangle means nothing. This is just a drawing. It's going to get snipped together here in just a second. So this is my whole back piece. That'll get scissored together right now. Trim, trim. Okay, and then this will go all the way to the bottom, but it's going to be a 1/2 inch from the bottom here. I think I already had it there, right there, 1/2 inch. Yep. Okay, so that's going to be solid wood up there. This is going to be nothing solid. So this actually has to go all the way down. All the way. There you go. Okay. Now, I know it might be confusing you, but we're trying to just draw this out. Now, let me create the tool paths for the pockets so you can see what those look like. And then you will be able to see the side piece and everything. So we'll start with, what makes sense first. This needs to connect to that, which connects to that, which connects to that. And that needs to be joined. Okay, so let me move this out of the way. Oh, come on, dude. Move that out of the way a minute. All right, so that goes there. I had a little bit of I didn't trim everything when I trimmed that arc, so there was still some little slight disconnects with everything. Scissors, that was still kind of my arc, So when I trimmed the arc, it didn't quite connect everything together. There we go. So let's start backwards and work our way forward. So we're going to go all the way through our material, 3/4 of an inch. This is going to use a 1/4 inch end mill, cutting on the outside of the line. And when it makes this cut, there's going to be radiuses here. We will, I'll end up cleaning that up with a chisel. So we're going to cut on the outside of the line. This will be the outside profile. Outside. And why am I such a dumb bum? The top piece right here is a piece of 3/4 inch wood. It's solid. So this is getting mortised in. So this top part isn't part of the profile toolpath. This is getting mortised in. There's going to be a mortise all the way across the bottom of this part for my side to fit into. It's across the top, and there's 2 mortises. Yes. So I need to take the scissors for a moment and cut this away and this away. Cut that away. That I'm going to leave there just for a minute because that has nothing to do with what we're doing. Cut that. Okay. That should be one closed vector. I don't know how I ended up with an open vector. There we go. Lord of mercy. All right, so we're going to cut that out. Preview the visible toolpath. Okay. We're going to have a pocket. This pocket is going to be like a 1/4 of an inch deep. And on this pocket, we're going to, I'm going to move it down just a little bit. Right there. We're going to add fillets on the back side, on the inside, right here and here. And this will come out. This is going to be my cutting board pocket. Okay, turn that on its side. So imagine a left and a right, 2 pieces sandwiched together. When everything is assembled and all, we have these 2 grooves on the side that the cutting board is going to slide right in, and everything on here and here. Now, the cutting board is going to be just right at the size of these 2 parts and everything when they're put together. So there's not going to be any racking or anything where you can't fit in, or it's kind of you're having to shake it back and forth and all that stuff. We don't need to go really deep with this edge. We could, we could go 3/8, but a 1/4 of an inch is going to be fine for that down there. Here on the top, let's focus on the top just for a minute. The drawer rectangle, again, bring that up here. The drawer pocket, there's going to be a 3/4 inch piece here, and this is going to be recessing in a 1/4 of an inch. So my drawer is not going to be able to be that tall because I have to have that 1/4 of an inch recess. So let me put a guideline down a 1/4, 0.25, negative 0.25. And so from here, I'm not going to go right at where it butts right up against there. I want to come down another 1/8 of an inch. So let's make another guideline. Okay. And that's where my drawer pocket is going to go. Okay, so that is going to be a pocket toolpath, 1/4 of an inch deep, 1/4 inch end mill. This is going to be my upper drawer. Okay. Then we have our back panel that's going to go in here is the groove for the back panel. The back panel is going to be 1/4 of an inch. So that's this groove right here. Now on this drawer that I just drew here, I didn't leave myself a whole lot of room between that back groove and everything. I only have, I think it's probably, what, 3/16? Yeah, less than 3/16. So about 5/32. And so let's turn off all these guidelines for a minute. Let's delete view, delete all guidelines, and let's create a brand new fresh one. From the inside of this back pocket groove, we're going to create a relative guide and over 0.25. That is where the back of this pocket is going to go. And then I want 2 fillets on it as well. Okay. We'll redraw the drawer rectangle in just a minute, but let's go back and recalculate that. Undo last and redo it again. Okay, so that's that. And then this groove. Now this groove is going to go all from one end to, actually it can go from one end to the other on this. And then right in the middle here, we're going to have a groove going across for the bottom piece for the bottom. So this one actually, I had it, I was thinking the right way. I just wasn't picturing it full. That can go the full length. That's going to be a pocket cut. And it can recess in 1/4 of an inch as well. This is the back panel. You can go deeper on these grooves if you want. I believe in the plans, if we were to look at I can't show his plans online. You'd have to go buy those. But if we were to look at the plans, he creates a groove that is 10 millimeters deep. And if we were to look at 10 times I equals about 0.39, right? So he's going, just a little over 3/8 of an inch deep on his grooves and everything in the plans, and all. I'm just going 1/4 of an inch. You can go deeper if you want. Totally up to you on what you want to do. On this back panel, that's what's going to keep the two sides together. Let's give it a little bit more glue. Let's go 3/8. We'll do it. 3/8 just on the back. Calculate that. It's going to use 1/4 inch end mill. Let's select the vector first. The groove, hold on a second. That little warning that just popped up was saying that, you know, the bit won't fit, and that's because my groove isn't 1/4 of an inch. And I said it's the back panel is going to be plywood, so we got to play this right. It's not going to be 1/4 inch end mill. I got to use an 1/8 inch end mill because the 1/4 inch plywood is only 7/32. So this is going to be an 1/8 inch end mill. Got to be smart. I was trying to do everything with one tool, and that's not the case. In this groove, I got to fix that. I want a nice fit. So we're going to, let me redraw the size of this groove. It is 0.21875. And okay, let's calculate that. Okay, let's turn this around so we can see it a little bit. Now on the back panel, what that leaves, just so you know, I mean, we have room to play with if you want to move it in a little bit, but basically that back where that pocket starts, I got this thing at 18 inches. Let me go 0.375. So a little less than 1/8 of an inch right here on the back. Let's give it a full 1/8. Let's give it a full 1/8. So let's move this in a little bit, just a little. So I'm going to take when I'm moving this, I'm going to take the 1/8 inch that I want to move to. I'm going to subtract the distance that it actually is. And the answer is the distance I need to move over, right? So we're going to apply that and just bump that over. And then I should be able to come in here. We should be at 1/8 of an inch. All right, so with that little move, let's recalculate that toolpath. All right, let's reset the preview. Let's preview this, and that, and that. Preview them all. Now, of course, the outside profile cut is going to be last in the list, right? All right, now the upper drawer pocket. That upper drawer pocket right here, somehow or another, I had the back panel and the upper drawer pocket. I had the wrong vector selected, I guess. I don't know. That needs to be calculated back to this, and it needs to be back to that 1/4" end mill. I don't know how my vector got switched, but let's put it back. Okay. Now, this is basically, we got one more. We got the bottom groove to put in, and then the tambour groove, right? So we're getting there. I know we're like an hour in. We haven't calculated the tambour or any of that stuff yet. But the bottom groove for the bottom piece, remember our bottom piece here is going to be 3/16, and it is going to run straight from the back to the front. Now, if you, for whatever reason, it's the back, it's going to be like up against the wall or what have you. If it's going to be something that sits out on a counter or whatever, and you don't want to see the edge face grain, I don't know, then you can have your groove come into the back panel or something like that. Mine's just going all the way through. Okay. So it's literally going all the way through here. Now this should be 3/4 inch thick, and just making this a little bit wider. It's going to be for the bottom piece. This is also going to be structural. Let's go 3/8 with it too. Let's make it solid. 3/8. All right, this is going to be our bottom panel pocket. And then I'm going to stop for a minute and look at questions, see if I have any popping up. I haven't looked over yet, so forgive me. Calculate. Preview. Okay. And remember now, on here, you have choices, right? So however you want to do it. Right now, what I have is I have on my back panel, my 1/4" panel, I have two pieces. I have the upper part that mortises into the bottom of, or the top of this bottom piece. And then I have this bottom part, during the glue up, there's two parts. Now you can have the back panel where it's solid all the way through. And then on the back panel, there's a groove that the bottom piece mortises into, right? So it's a solid piece all the way through. Your choice, however you want to do. I am kind of just creating this separation and everything, and it's not going to be a big deal for me on my bottom pieces to cut my two panel pieces, my upper and lower, and everything. Okay, so that's that. Now we have the side all except for the tambour groove. Now we're going to start saving. Let's hit save to save this. And Breadbox class B1. Okay. Let me look at the questions and let me see what I got. Let me see if I got people like yelling at me over here. Are we still connected? Because I have there's no comments or nothing in there. It just says Chef Laney was the last one. So y'all are paying attention. That's awesome. Wonderful. Well, make sure we're still connected now. Make sure you can still hear me. I'm sure I'd have gotten text messages. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes, hey, good. We got some here. When it comes to our tambour pieces. We are going to have the strips for that, and I'm just looking to make sure that and y'all's first initial hellos and everything. Big shout out to everybody. Thanks for watching with me tonight. We're gonna have a total of 15 pieces all together. Okay. Now these pieces are going to be 1/4 of an inch thick. The tambour for the tambour door. They're going to be 1/4 of an inch thick, and the width of them, okay, the width of them, we're going to have, 14. There's 15 pieces altogether. 14 of them are going to be roughly 5, 6, 2, 5, 9/16. Thank you. 9/16 inches wide by 1/4 inch thick. Okay. And we're going to have one piece that is going to be 1/4 inch thick by 3/4 of an inch wide. So 15 altogether. We'll get the length in just a minute, but 15 altogether. 15 altogether. We're going to have 14 of them are going to be 9/16 of an inch wide. And one of them, then it's going to be the bottom one because it gets a little handle in it. So it's going to be 3/4. Okay. So I'll just, for right now, I'll draw this up. That's an ellipse. That's not a rectangle. We're going to have on our pieces, we're going to have, we'll pretend that we're looking at an end view here. They're going to be 0.5625 by 1/4 of an inch, 0.25. So we're going to have 14 of those, and then we're going to have 0.75 by 0.25, 3/4. And we'll kind of butt that up. Where's my snapping at? My snapping not working. Now, I'm going to create a, I'll bring this over here. I'm going to create an array real quick. There's going to be 1 row, 14 columns. They're going to have a gap of 0. And this is going to be 0. And we'll create that. And then we'll have our 3/4 inch connected there. And then there's going to be on here, there's going to be like in the middle, there's going to be like a little wooden pull, right? You know, to raise the door and lower the door and all that stuff. And that's going to be on there. But this is going to be the door. We're going to have 14 9/16 inch by 1/4 inch pieces and 1 3/4 by 1/4 inch pieces. Now, these parts, and the one cool thing about the jig and all that stuff, it's not really that special. Piece of 3/4 inch plywood, whatever, MDF, 1/2 inch plywood, I don't care, but a base, create a base. You're going to have 2 pieces of wood, one on one side of the base, one on the other, and your tambour strips are going to get set in between those 2 pieces, laid out, just like you see here. They're going to get laid out. And then we're going to take a piece of cloth. We're going to glue on a piece of canvas, cotton canvas. You can go to any fabric store. You can go to Walmart. Hell, they got a fabric department too. But we're going to have a piece of canvas, and it's going to get glued on the back, and that's going to allow the flexibility for this to turn and all that stuff, and all that wonderful jazz. Now, length. We haven't talked about length, how long these parts are. The length is going to be how long it is for them to fit from left side to the right side of our project board, right? And so let's take for a moment and draw a 3/4 inch piece here, 0.75. And let's double that up. And let's move this one. Now, my cutting board class from last week, this cutting board here, right, was 15 inches wide, right? That was 15 inches wide. Let me go back to here. It was 15 inches wide. We can make the cutting board however big we want, but that was 15 inches wide. And the where am I trying to get here? The cutting board is going into 2/4 inch grooves on each side, right? You know, it's sliding into 2/4 inch grooves. So we're going to move this right here. 15 minus 1/2 inch is 14.5 inches. So let's take our move tool and move that relative 14.5 inches over to there. Now imagine that we have down at the bottom here, imagine we have our cutting board. Our cutting board is 15 inches long. It is 1 inch thick, remember? And we'll figure out the placement and all that. This is just a side view. So we have our cutting board slot here, right? Remember? And of course, our cutting board slot is slightly bigger than the cutting board, but it's going in 1/4 inch. So now I'm going to select these two items. I'm going to group them together, and I'm going to select this item first and this group last. Now the group tool is right here, or it's the letter G on your keyboard. Group is G, ungroup is U. So I grouped these two items together here. And then I selected this first, selected that group last, and I'm going to align to that last item left to right, and that's going to center. So now we have, just so you can see for reference purposes, we have a from here to here is that 1/4 inch. Let me actually hit the mark. Let's try that again. From there to there is our 1/4 inch. And the same thing on this side, from here to here, 1/4 inch, right? So we're in that, we're sliding in that recess. And of course we can do a little sanding on our cutting board just to make it nice and perfect or whatever, but I'm sticking with that 15 inches. And now my loaf of bread, right? The loaves of bread that I made in those pictures and everything, they were cooked in a 9x5 pan. So they're 9 inches long, right? The loaves are 9 inches long, 5 inches wide, and they're about 5 inches tall, right? But that 9 inches, so a 15 inch, because bread boxes can be however long and short or you want, but the purpose is they have to fit the bread, right? Now these are small loaves, a 9x5. Now a regular loaf of bread from the grocery store, I didn't go out and measure a regular loaf of bread, but they're slightly longer. They're probably in the 12 to 14 inch range, like a loaf of bread, right? I never really measured one. And so you make the breadboard box, you just make the breadboard box and everything, your links and all, the bottom piece, the top piece, and then the tambour links, right? The tambour strip links, you make them however wide you see fit. I'm going 15 on my 15 inch cutting board, right? Going into the groove here. So that's that. But now my tambour grooves themselves, the grooves, themselves, they are going to be 6 millimeters, so they're only going to be 1/4 of an inch deep as well. So kind of like that. So they're going to be just 1/4 of an inch on each side. That's the slots for the grooves. So 1/4 of an inch. And now we need to talk about making the tambour. So for that, I'm going to switch over to, let me hit save real quick on this. Now that I've waited to an hour and a half into class when everybody's tired and half asleep, now we're going to do a little math, okay? I want you to imagine, if you will, that we are normally going to have on our front radius, that front radius, if we look at our box that we drew, come back here, this front radius hold on a minute. Node editing. That's a radius there, dude. It was 140. I don't think the tape measure tool, it's not going to let that. It's not going to let me get my reading on that. But it was 140 was the radius, 140 millimeters, which turned out to be 5.518. You know, that kind of thing. Well, let's switch over here and let's look at some numbers. So imagine, now I'm just using a circle, just an example. Now, of course, we're only going that kind of quarter circle and everything, you know, for the front tambour. But then that tambour door has to go somewhere on the back side, right? But let's imagine that we have one piece here, and let's imagine that piece has to, you know, slide in this groove, right? It has to slide in that groove. All those pieces, all 14 pieces have to slide in that groove and everything. Now we don't need to draw all 14 pieces. I can get this by one, but the most important thing is when we are moving around and all, the corner, and most people round off their little tambour strips. They probably use like an 1/8 inch round over, you know, on a router table or something. They round over the edges. But the big thing here is that our corners don't run into the walls, right? And, you know, get stuck. We need that gap when it's riding in the groove. Let's assume that it's riding on the inside of that groove and everything. When it's riding that groove, we need that distance or that gap to be wide enough that our parts, you know, our parts can easily, you know, maneuver. Now, believe it or not, this is where the math comes in. To figure out the proper spacing and everything, the proper width of our groove, should I say, or it could be used to figure out the thickness and size of our tambour strips itself as well. This can be solved, or this can be calculated. There's a calculation using the Pythagorean, and I never say that word properly, Pythagorean theorem, which basically calculates or says that, you know, the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle is equal to the sum of the square of the two remaining sides. So A square plus B square equals the same thing as that hypotenuse, that straight line. So if I were to draw a triangle, right angle triangle, and go into node editing mode and get rid of this point, right? This is a right angle triangle. And to really throw some math at you, if the hypotenuse is that long line right there, if the hypotenuse is not equal to the sum of the two remaining sides squared, if it's not, if it's smaller, if the number is smaller than that sum, then that's an an acute triangle. If that number is larger, then it's an obtuse triangle, right? So let's not go there, but that's math, right? So on a right angle, if this and let me try to be, I'm going to use just whole numbers for a minute. Let's pretend that not pretend, let's actually make it here on my measurement. There we go. My length from point A to point B currently right now. Ooh, that's a small number. Hold on. I'm in millimeters. Let's go 8. Go. Don't worry, we'll fix it to inches in just a minute. But 408 millimeters, and then as a matter of fact, I'm in millimeters on this program. Let me take all of this and copy it over to our inch program. That's why everything is showing on millimeters. Let's go over here. Don't want to throw I want this to be as easy as possible. So I definitely don't want to do that in millimeters for you. So let's go back over here and paste this. All right. Now, once again on this size here, we'll go into our size tool and let's size everything down to a reasonable. There we go. All right. Give me just a minute. I want to just be reasonable on the math for you. So let's create a guide, and we're going to go up 4 3/4. We'll use 4 3/4. We're going to go over, close. Go from here. We're going to go over 15.5. We'll just go 15.5. Okay. And let's make our triangle match that. So we'll go to node editing. We'll pull this up to here. Come over here. We'll go to node editing and pull this over here. Okay. So now, if I were to take measurements from top to bottom, we're at 4 3/4. Going across the bottom, we're at 15.5. And then going across the hypotenuse, which is the long length here, we are 16.2115, right? So the math says that using the Pythagorean theorem, that the sum, add, plus, the sum of the two sides squared is equal to the hypotenuse square, right? The hypotenuse squared. So let's find out if that's true. So if I took on a calculator, right, 4.75 squared, that's a little x with the 2 here, right? Okay. And we'll write that down. 22.5625. And 15.5, that's my other side, 15.5 squared. That's 240.25. The sum, if I added those two together, 22.5625 plus 240.25 equals 262.8125. Okay. Now, if I take my hypotenuse here, 16.2115, the square root of that is 4.02. And let's go here. Yeah. All right. 4.75 squared plus 15.5 squared equals. Hold on. I know of the math. Bear with me. Somebody's yelling at me in the background. Let's see here. 50.825 squared. So 16.2115. Yeah. Okay. I was right. I was just hitting the wrong button. I'm hitting the square root. Squared. The square root comes in the next step, Laney. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So let's do this again. Let me show you again just real quick. All right. So the 4.75 squared was 22.5625. So 22.5625. I was jumping ahead. There's another step for our calculation for our purposes, and I was throwing it in there. I was hitting square root instead of square. So that plus the square of the 15.5, which is 240.25 equals 262.8125. Okay. And so if we take the 16.2115 and we square that, 262.8127. So close enough for the math, but a squared plus b squared equals the same as c squared, right? So now what is that? How does that help us, Laney? How does that help us? What do we do with that? So this is how we would use this calculation for calculating our grooves. So we're going to use letters to help us out. So C is going to represent the channel width, the width of our tambour channel that we're going to be milling into our board. R is going to represent the inner radius. So when we do our curve here, we have our inner radius and then we have our outer radius. You know, there's a groove. So let's say the groove is a 1/4 inch wide. The inside radius versus the outside radius are two different things, you know, on that groove. So we're going to use the letter R. We're going to represent the inner radius for us. W we're going to use is going to represent how wide our tambour is. And like I said, our tambour was 9/16, right? So we'll write all this stuff down here in just a second. Now, with those things, with knowing what our channel width is and knowing how thick our material is, knowing how wide our material is, our tambour is, and then knowing the radius, we can use the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to do some math. And how we determine is we take the gap, the size of the gap that we want. This is that gap is this, the gap is this, the space between the corner of our piece, which we'll round off, but still that gap, when all these parts are moving around, we need some space. We need some gap. We don't want it too sloppy. We can't have the gap too wide where the pieces just rattle, but we also can't have it too tight to where, they don't, all of them in a row don't turn around that corner, right? So that's the gap. That's what we're referring to as that gap, this remaining space right here when our piece is inside of our slot, our groove, when our tambour piece is inside of our groove, the gap from the corners, that remaining spot, that's the gap that we're shooting for, okay? So let's throw out, let me get my text box here. We know from our tambour slots that we laid out here, the thickness, if you will, the thickness is going to be 1/4 of an inch. We talked about that. And the width, I'm only using the width of the short pieces, the 9/16. I'm not using the 3/4 inch width because it doesn't even reach into, but the beginning part of the radius, because it's got the little handle on it. So it stops at the top of right as it's entering in that curve. So we don't count that wider piece. It's the shorter pieces here that are actually going to go into the tambour. Ladies and gentlemen, stick with me. I know I'm trying to make it where it makes sense here in just a minute. When we start putting the actual numbers to it, it'll make sense. So our parts are 1/4 of an inch thick, 9/16 inches wide. Okay. So let's open up our text box here. And let's see, let's make our text height 1 inch tall. Okay, so for us, W, bear with me. Okay, for us, W is going to equal, which is the width of our tenon, 9/16. So 0.5625. T is going to represent the thickness of our tambour, which is 0.25, 1/4 of an inch. Okay. Now, the channel on our tambour, we're going to be using a 3/8 inch router bit, and the channel is going to be the size of the router bit. So the channel width is going to be 3/8 of an inch. And the note here, like I says, is the diameter of the bit used to cut the channel, right? So in this case, we're going to use a 3/8 inch router bit. We're going to have a 3/8 inch channel. So that's going to be the letter C. Okay, C is going to equal 0.375. Now, our radius, that if you look at all the plans across the globe and all the YouTube channels on, people making bread boxes and general things like that and stuff, they're typically all the notes and all the details and all the information when you're researching this stuff and all, they're typically stating that you're not going to really be less than a 4-inch diameter, right? 4-inch diameter would be your minimum diameter for your big rotation And that's even on like cabinets and stuff like that. 4-inch would be your minimum radius, internal, your minimum radius, internal radius and all, and everything. And so we are going to, in millimeters terms, a good radius for our big front radius is 112 millimeters, which is equal to like 4.4. And there's a little back radius that when this door is going, it's got to hide somewhere, right? So when it comes up, we haven't drawn the channel up yet, but when it comes up, it's going to the tambour door is going to come down into this hiding area here, right? And that back turn is a 30 millimeter radius, which is it's a 1.18 inches and everything. And the reason it can be slightly smaller is because only a few pieces are kind of turning that corner to go in. It'll make sense in just a minute. So a majority of our parts are going to be on that front bigger radius, and then a few of them are going to be coming on the back. So if I were to say that with that information that our inner radius is going to be 4 inches. We could say 4.4. That would be the letter R. So R is going to equal our radius. And now, of course, your radius might be bigger or smaller for larger projects like cabinet projects and things like that, right? This math right here will help you calculate that channel size, and it'll help you determine, do you need to make your slats wider, smaller, thinner, to work with the radiuses that you want to choose, right? Because if your radius is too big, key point, if your radius is too big, then you're taking away from your storage space inside the cabinet. So if I have a door, and everything, and my door has to be able to turn this certain radius, there's a groove that's milled in to my, bottom and top of my box, and this door is sliding around kind of thing. That radius, that turn and stuff like that, that's taking away from storage space. So the bigger it is, or the smaller, whatever the case may be, but we want to maximize our storage space, right? So we don't want a huge radius and things like that. We want to try to go as small as possible, but we want to go with what fits and what works. So for this case, R is going to be 4.4. 4.40. Okay. Now, if we go back and look at a drawing that that works, that we know works, like from plans and stuff, we can see that this circle right here, imagine like when you're drawing this out, this is like from that plan, that $8 plan. I would recommend you guys go buy it for making simple bread boxes and all. But this here is if we go to our size, it's in millimeters again, but 241 millimeter diameter, right? And that is the same as 120 millimeter radius. Notice that the circle here that you see on the drawing, notice where it is. Notice that it's not on the inside radius of our groove. This is the groove right here, right? This is the groove from here to here. And our part right there has to ride in the groove, and our part rides down, basically kind of think of like a center line, right? It's traveling. When this part is, traveling in all, let me see if I can simulate this. When it's traveling on this, it's got to be able to, turn these corners. Now, I want you to look when we get up, here, when we start to kind of come, let's say right about here at kind of the top of our turn, watch this gap right here. So this is represent one of our P's here. As we come in our turn, as we start to, get here, it's these corners, that corner right there, right here, that's the same as if we were looking upside down right here. That's the same as this corner that we were talking our measurements off of earlier, right? That's the gap. That part, when that tambour is rotating, closing and all that, and actually goes straight, not it doesn't turn the corner like that. When it's coming and opening and stuff, we need to make sure that our gap isn't too wide. Our gap here isn't too wide, so it's sloppy. So it's like rattles and it's loose and it's just like poor construction or whatever. Want it nice and a beautiful fit, with just enough gap that we have clearance. We don't bind or anything, but not too much gap that we're sloppy, right? So that's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to get that perfect sweet spot in everything. And so on the back side of this right here, we have that, that part is coming in and it's got to turn a corner. All those pieces, they have to turn this corner and everything. And again, we're focusing on that center line. Well, why, when we are calculating and all that stuff, we're not in the calculations, in our calculation, we're not calculating off of the center lines and everything. We're calculating off the inside radius, right? The radius here, that inside radius, because that's the smallest radius. That's where our, things play a role. And so if I come in here and let's see if this radius is about 34 on that inside there. But on my center line, is it going to let me, hold on. Let me see if it'll let me put the radius on this one. There we go. It's 38.5. So that difference is the diameter of our bit. So, our bit is like, a 3/8 inch bit or 9 millimeter, right? In this case. And so that plays a role, but not when we're figuring out the calculation for our, how much space we have. Like if our gap is wide enough, like if I chose a 1/4 inch bit, I could do the math, and then right away before I cut anything, I can see from the math that a 1/4 inch is going to create too small of a gap, and it's not going to work and all. So I can tell you right now that our radius of 4.4, our back radius of 30, the parts of 9/16 and a 1/4 inch, those work, right? But if we didn't know the numbers from me giving them to you, right, and we had to figure it out ourselves, like how big should our pieces be, how wide and all that, we have to figure out, okay, I prefer a strip that is 3/4 inches wide. I prefer a strip that is, 5/16 inches thick. And this and that. Well, what size gap am I going to have to cut for those two numbers to work? That's why you have to do the math, right? if someone tells you that, hey, this is going to work, and you have a plan and you follow that plan and all, there's no thinking involved. But what if you were making your own cabinet and you were designing, and you've got to come up with your numbers and all? So let's look at this as an example. All right. So we're going to look at our gaps and everything in just a second, but let's look at something here. So the math, once we know our letters, we know what our channel is, our inner radius, our thickness, and our width, right? Once we know that, what we're trying to figure out is the gap, that little space, right? From that corner, right? The gap. So here's the formula, the math. The gap equals the channel width plus the radius minus the square root of the radius plus the tenon thickness squared plus the width of our tenon divided by 2 squared. Those numbers, the square root of those numbers, we subtract that from our channel width and our radius here, and that tells us our gap. So let's plug some numbers in here and let's see what we have here. So if I have a channel width of 3/8, I have a radius of 4 1/8, that inner radius. I have a thickness of 5/16 on my thickness of my tambours, and I have a width of 1 7/32. My gap is going to end up being about 0.0207, which is roughly about a 64th of an inch. Now, a 64th on a gap on a piece that I'm making, I need a little bit. I'm not that good. I need a little bit more wiggle room, right? I need a little bit more. There could be variations in the wood movement, expansion, contraction, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. In a 64th, that's all the play that I have, and that's it. If anything is out that I'm going to get stuck, that's too little, right? Well, how did I come of that number? Let's look at the math with a calculator to make it make sense. So when we're doing the math, okay, I'm not going to get into all the math terms and blah, 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 but we're going to do the math in the brackets first, and then we subtract that from, whatever's after. So let's get our numbers down here, and let me open up my text box here. So C plus R, right? Let's come over here. C plus R is going to be 0.375 plus 4.125, right? So we're going to do that math first, right? Okay. And basically 0.375 plus 4.125 equals 4.5, right? So that's going to be 4.5, 4.5. Okay. Now, set that aside, right? So that was just that. That was that bracket. That's what we just figured out there. Now come over here to these two brackets, okay? So the radius, again, that radius, 4.125, plus the thickness of our tambour, which is 5/16. So let's do that again. Let's come over here. We'll do that here. Let's go 4.125 plus 0.3125 equals, let's break that down, 4.125 plus 0.3125 equals 4.4 7/16, 4.4375. 4.4375. Come on, man. All right, so that one's done. Not yet. We still have to square it, but we'll do that in just a second. Let's get the brackets figured out first. W divided by 2, that's the width of our tenon. 1 and 7/32. So 1 and 7/32. Now, I always have a hard time with 7/32. It throws me off. So let me just really quickly, 7/32 is 0.21875, right? So 1.21875. 1.21875 divided by 2 equals, okay, 1.21875 divided by 2 equals 0.609375. 0.609375. Okay. So now I have these. I have my C plus R. I have my R plus T, and I have my W divided by 2, right? Okay. So now here, this would make a little bit more sense if it had the 2 brackets in here. Let me actually put them in really quickly. There are 2 brackets missing in this. There should be a bracket here and a bracket there. And the reason why that bracket's not there is because the particular font that I'm using doesn't allow for that bracket. Hold on, let me find a different font. Come on, dude. Give me a font that works. There we go. Lord have mercy. All right. So these 2 brackets right here are saying, hey, this, do that bracket first, those 2 things. So we need to add together this 4.4375 squared and this 0.609375 squared. We need to add those 2 things together. All right. Let's take don't fall asleep on me now. 4.4375 squared is, I really want to put that right here. And if I do this, if I do of course, the font doesn't show that one either. You put in. It will in a minute. That equals that. Okay, so let's change the font on this. That font that worked was not Gothic, not Railway. It was what the hell font did I just, what font was that? Northwest. Sorry, folks. Hold on, Northwest. There. Okay. And let's change this one to Northwest too. Okay. And this one, might as well. All right, so now we have that number, right? So that's going to be the first part of these two numbers that have to get added together. The second one is this number, right? So clear that. 0.609375 squared equals, I'm not even going to try to type that out. I'm going to copy that. So that number, and it's not showing the up arrow, but we're going to use that 2 as a squared. That equals that. Now, we add these two numbers together, and that will complete what's inside this bracket right here. So if I take this number plus, and again, I'm going to copy and paste, copy this number and I equal that together, the answer is 20. We're going to copy that. So I'm going to rewrite this equation with the proper numbers in here. So let's go down here and let's make this make sense. We'll go over here. The gap is equal to 4.5 minus the square root of 20 point blah, 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 blah. So that little equation is saying this, okay? So now I need to know the square root of 20.062744. And the square root of that number is 4.479. We're stopping there, 4.479. The square root of this number is 4.479. Okay? Now, if I take my gap, 4.5, and I subtract 4.479 and I hit equals, that's 0.021. Okay? If I go and I look at give me just a second here. Grab this over here. If I go look at a fraction to decimal chart and go to images, and on images, friggin' pick one. Give me a second for them to pop up. Let's just pick this one. And let's open this up in a new window. And let's zoom into it. Hopefully y'all can see that on the screen. Okay. If I look at 0.021, I'm right in the middle of 64th and a 32nd. Now let me see if there's another fraction to decimal chart that really breaks it down. Let me see if there's a decimal chart that really breaks it down. Now, most of them are going to be, unfortunately, most of the fraction and decimal charts are going to be in the, they're going to start with a 64th and a 32nd. So they're going to just be in 32nd or 64th increments. So we are just in between 64th and a 32nd. We're probably, 1.1. I mean, because, 2 64ths equals a 32nd, right? So we're at 0.021. So we're just over a 64th of an inch. And, around, in this case, 0.02 rounded up to 0.021, right? 7 rounds up to 1. So just over a 64th, around a 64th. That, when we do the math and everything, that answer on that, let me finish this off here. The square root of this, which equals that. Our answer equals 0.021. And which roughly equates to, a little around, a little over 64. That's too small of a gap. We need to, something's got to change in our numbers, right? So in this case, the numbers that we're using here, what ended up changing for this to make it work was the thickness of the 5/16 inch tenon was changed to 1/4 of an inch. We reduced the thickness of the tenon down from 5/16 to 1/4. That increased the gap, plenty of gap, that everything, ran smoothly and everything. And of course, you always do a test cut and everything. So of all the things, we could have changed any one of these numbers. We could have changed the width. We could have changed the thickness of the tenon. We could have changed the radius or the channel thickness, the size of a router bit. But when really trying to figure this out, what's the easiest to change? Well, I don't want to go back into my drawing and try to figure out a new radius and everything. I want to use my 3/8 inch router bit, for the channel. So that only leaves the width of the tenon, how wide it is, or the thickness of the tenon. And since the thickness is what's going to be mostly affected when it's going around the corner, that thick tenon coming around the corner, that's the logical of everything. That's easiest. It's easiest to be able to I still have to make the tenon. So if I make them 1/4 of an inch, that would work. Now, very quickly, if we change that up and everything, it would probably bring it around 5/64 of an inch, which would roughly be, let me go back to my fraction and decimal chart because I am not that good. Here, 5/64, 0.078, about 5/64 by changing that, just that one little thing, changing the tenon to 1/4 and all. And that would be plenty of gap. Just 0.078 is now, that's over a 1/16 of an inch of gap, right? So good. We're good. Good. Right? We could have probably gotten away. We could have done, but round, going from 5/16 to 1/4 was just a good round number and all that stuff. So that's the math, right? So I want everyone that's kind of looking at this to kind of, what really to focus on is, let me draw a box around it, is this little formula here. Your channel width, your inner radius, the thickness of your tenon, your tambour, sorry, not tenon, tambour, and the width of your tambour, how wide it is. This is the math, okay? The gap, that little gap, as it's turning the corner and all that stuff, equals the channel thickness plus the radius, inner radius, minus the square root of the radius plus the tenon thickness, the width squared, plus the width of the tenon, tambour, not tenon, tambour, divided by 2 squared. Those two numbers, get the square root of those two numbers, and then subtract it from your, channel width and your radius, and see what your gap is, right? And then adjust any one of those numbers, any one of those parts. If you haven't cut anything yet, and you're still in the drawing phase, you can change any of these numbers to make a difference on that gap. Okay. So for us, you're like, Laney, enough of the math. Come on. All right. For us, we're going to not draw anything out. I'll leave all that stuff right here. Let me hit save on this real quick. For us, I'm just going to do it all in the calculator, and I'm going to write it down, and we'll talk it out loud verbally. So listen and everything. But we have, and I'll use the calculator on the screen here. So we have our channel radius is going to be 4.4. And that is going to be our C or our R, our radius. Our channel width, I decided it's going to be the diameter of our router bit, which is 3/8. So we're going to add that together. So plus 0.375. That's going to be 4.47 or 4.775. 775. Okay. So that's going to be good. 4.775. So that's my first part of my equation here. So that's C plus R. Now, the radius of our inner radius, again, clear, 4.4 plus the thickness of our tenon plus 0.25 equals 4.65, and I need the square root of that, or square, not square root. So 21.6225. 21.6225. Write that down. All right. Now, clear that. The width of my tenon is 9/16. 9/16, 0.5625 divided by 2. 0.5625 divided by 2. And then I need the square of that. So in this case, 0.079, and I'll stop right there, 0.79. Clear that. All right, now I need to take my 21.6225 plus my 0.079. That gives me 21.7. I'm going to leave it right at that, 21.7. 21.7, I need the square root of that, and that's 4.65. 4.6. We're going to say 4.66 because 8's the next number. We'll round up. 4.66. So if I take my 4.4 and I subtract my, that's not my first number, I'm so sorry. If I take my 4.775 and I subtract my 4.66, that leaves me 0.115. 0.115. That's my gap. And thanks, Wood Magazine. We appreciate you. 0.115. I'm just over 7/64, between 7/64 and an 1/8. And I could probably, change my gap width a little bit or whatever. But so that's where I'm at. So I am at 0.115 of a gap. That's my gap. And it works. It's not too bad. It's not too sloppy or anything like that. But if you want it tighter, slightly tighter, if I want to be around that 5/64, I mean, that's kind of cutting it close. This is of plans and all that stuff. It works. It's successful. So I'm not going to change it. It's not up to me to change it. The only time I would change it is on my CNC, I'm going to have my sides milled out with my channel. I still got to draw the channel, but I'm going to have the channel drawn out and everything. And I'll have them carved. I can make a sample tambour strip and everything, and I can put it in there and just slide just the one back and forth in the groove just to check my, just to check my radius and stuff and make sure, my gap is good. And if my gap feels too big and too sloppy, I can come back and make the change. I can, increase the thickness of my tambour strips. I could change I've already carved the sides, right? So I can't change the width of the channel. So I can only change how wide my tambour strips are or how thick they are. That's the only two things I could change, right? Because I've already had them milled. I already have the sides milled, the grooves milled. So that's, that's the number. So these are the numbers that I'm working with here, and nothing's final. I can change anything right now because I haven't carved anything, but in the drawing, this is what we're going to lay out. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to finish up with creating the groove here, and then we'll make the tool path for the groove. And basically it's just mirrored image, right? It's going to be a mirror image of our grooves. And then the cutting board, I'll have the files and all. The cutting board is going to be the bottom. It just slides in. We'll make a little drawer box. And for the drawer box at the top, we can make like a little box with rabbit joints, little box pieces, little box. Or heck, if we wanted to, we could take a solid block of wood and cut a pocket in it, make it a drawer, whatever you want to do. I'm going to make a little box because I'm at 1 3/4. What am I at here? I'm at my drawer. It's probably going to fit in there. So what am I at? 1 and let me change it here. 1.75. Yeah, 1 3/4 inches. So I'll make a little box, right? A little box. And that box, remember, we got a 1/4 inch groove at the top. So we have a 1/4 inch deep groove, 0.25. There, and we have there. And so the width of our box, if we were to measure, that's a horizontal measurement. I had to think for a second there on what measurement that is. Horizontal. So about 14 and what is that? 4.9375, 14, 4.9375, 14 and 15/16, right? Just right about that. 14 and 15/16 will give us a little bit of play. That's 9.375. We could probably go just slightly under that, give it a hair, but we don't want it sloppy, but we don't want it too tight either. And then the 1 3/4 inches is going to be how thick it is, the jaw. And overall, our box, remember the bottom base, let me draw that in. The bottom piece is going to go 3/8 of an inch in, right on 0.375. put that there. Oops. So our bottom piece is going to be 3/4 of an inch thick. You know, this is the bottom of our box, right? It's going to be 3/4 inches thick by 15 1/4, 15.3, you know, technically is what it is. 15, I gotta go to my fraction of the decimal chart again. Love that chart. 0.28, 9/32. 15 and 9/32 is our bottom piece, by 3/4. So that's the bottom piece. Now, of course, we can make it. We don't have to be 9/32. We can make it bigger or smaller. It just means our box is wider or shorter. You just got to make, you know, whatever size fits and all. So we would have our bottom base, our, you know, our channels and all that, and all that stuff. Now, when our door comes down, it stops and sits right on this base. So this bottom piece goes all the way to the front. And it comes down and it closes. If you, on that front piece, I don't want to see the bottom piece. So that bottom piece, remember, this is a 3/4 inch. I need to redo the tool path on this. That bottom piece actually is the groove is gonna stop just shy of there. I want this to be solid wood on the front. You know what I mean? I want it to be a blind channel and everything. So I got to recalculate that tool path for the bottom panel. I got to make sure that I recalculate that. In there. So literally all we have to do, I got to just draw this out and we're going to be done, ladies and gentlemen, then we can call it an evening. How's everybody doing? Let me look over my shoulder, see how many people I've confused. Here we go. Listening to you. Okay. Orate. Ronnie Ferrier says, create a 3D carve on the front of the Tambour lid. Maybe a part 2 of this class. Now, Ronnie, what I'm thinking of when it comes to the 3D parts and everything, what I'm thinking of is a decorative element. Hold on a minute. What I'm thinking of is a decorative element on the box drawers and the front where the cutting board is. So if we look up in the world of let me see here. If we look up in the world of bread boxes, bread box with Tambour door, and we go to images and we look at all the many beautiful designs and layouts and everything. There's so many different styles and everything. Here's an idea. We can have a carving on the top and carvings on the side, right? So that's an idea. On the front of the box, like we're going to have a drawer at the top and then we're going to have the cutting board at the bottom. The drawer here has a pull knob, but there's also could be a 3D carving here and at the bottom as well too. So let's come down and let's look at some other amazing examples and see if anybody has done any. Here's okay, something along the line of what you were saying, right? Bread, right? But now listen, if you're going to do some kind of 3D carving, on the front of the tambour that, you know, actually comes together and everything, which you can. There's a guy on YouTube that made a beautiful entertainment cabinet out of dark walnut, and the panels of the door, the tambour doors, were 3D carved. He cut each of his tambour pieces. He laid them out on the CNC table. He laid them out side by side, all the individual strips, clamped it down, you know, trapped it, and did a 3D carving right on. He did kind of like a wave type carving and everything, but he laid those parts right in a jig. He just laid them down. He had all the strips cut, laid them down, and did a 3D carving right on the front. So that's not from within the realm of possibilities now, but you can't do any carving on the sides. They need to stay whatever thickness you calculate and all that stuff. But let's go quickly, and then we'll get back on track here. But if we look at, let's close this out and keep scrolling. So you can see that most of these boxes, right, they just have the little pulls and the drawers, you know, kind of fronts and stuff, and there's no real decoration to it. Even on this one, like, you know, another Dutch Crafters, no real, it's just got the knob, right? So let's see if anybody... Nobody, right? So we definitely have to be different than everybody, right? So we could do some 3D carving on the, I want to do some 3D carving on the drawer fronts and everything. Now, if I go into my Galaxy AI, this is my AI account and everything, and I go into image generator and I look at my generated images. Look at that Breadbox. Now it's not a Tambour Lid, right? But you see that front? Look at that top too, man. That's really decorative and pretty and everything like that. But this front, this is what I'm talking about. This front right here, something like this on the drawer, on the front of the drawer, and on the bottom door where the that folds down, where the breadboard is, right? So that 3D element. Now, I am not getting into right now. We're not getting into it, you know, as far as you know, doing 3D on sides, but that could definitely be a future project or something where we have these front trim elements, right? These trim elements and everything, because that is trim, you know, type of thing. But that's a beautiful, it's not a tambour door. It's kind of a hinged door, but it's a beautiful Breadbox concept, right? And everything. But these images are all, you know, AI. All right, so I'm looking here, like these are real world, like, you know, examples on Google search and all. Nobody's done really like any, your Breadboxes are just plain Breadboxes. Now that's that entertainment center I'm talking about, or not? That's not the one I'm talking about, but where that tambour door, that's a tambour door that goes all the way around, that opens up to the back, right? So when it opens, you know, those doors slide. So this whole thing could change to jewelry boxes, cabinets. Heck, look at this under cabinet storage, right? So in your kitchen, the under cabinet storage box to hide pots and pans and stuff like that. You know, that's that tambour situation and stuff, right? And just an example, you see that the back piece, we're going to be using a piece of canvas glued to the back, and you're just going to use regular wood glue or white glue. Either one would be fine. But this tambour door, the tambour door can be used on lots of different projects, and that's why I'm really going in this depth of this math, right? This in this box right here, this is your magic formula, right? To making sure that you have an appropriate size gap for your timbers, no matter how big the project is, right? You just have to know a few numbers to be able to do the math. So screenshot that shit, right? So anyway, okay. But to go back to what Ronnie was saying, as far as 3D carving on the tambour itself, that's not from within the realm of possibilities. That could happen. That could be something, right? But we could definitely do a class on that for sure. But regardless on that 3D, when everything is all said and done, our timbre ends and all have to, we got to probably do some rabbit cuts on the end so they're the right thickness to fit in our channel, right? So for sure we could do a 3D carving on there. That'd be beautiful. It'd be bad to the bone. We could do that. All right. See you. All right. Take it easy and have a good night, Ron. Thanks for hanging out. It's getting late and all that stuff. So in here, I'm going to create the last thing that I'm going to create is kind of the offset inward offset. Actually, that's a lie. I'm going to create this rectangle here. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? This front radius is going to be 4.4. That's a dog bone fillet. We need a normal fillet. 4.4 inch radius. And then on the back, it's going to be a 1.1875 radius on the back. Okay. And that is going to be my center line. So my actual radiuses for the math, which, we'll need to redo, but they're going to be slightly in. So if I offset that inward 3/8 of an inch, because that's how big my bit is, half of 3/8, which is 3/16. Yep. So offset, that's the join tool. Offset inward 0.1875. Okay. And I should have went both ways. Offset both ways. Offset both directions. Okay. And so that creates the channel that's going to get cut for that the tambour door. And I need to clean up this front edge a little bit. It needs to be the same ratio all the way across. But that's going to be the start of my channel and the end of my channel. Hold on a second, and then we're going to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight. Measurement. We're going to go just 3/8. Yeah. 3/8. Okay. Offset this outward. Awkward. Yep, that's good. All right, so now go into node editing, delete this bottom span, delete that span, and then this channel is going to go right into that bottom groove, so you're not even going to see it, right into there. And then we're going to have a profile toolpath on the line, cutting 0.25 inches deep with a 3/8 inch router bit. Calculate, preview the visible toolpath. That's going to create that tambour groove. And so we have a side profile or a side piece for a box, right? And so we'll square up the corners on this with a chisel so that our bottom board will fit in there, so we don't have to round over the bottom and all that stuff. And all that happy jazz. The back panel, for some reason, is not showing. The back panel groove really quickly. Calculate. Okay. So don't know what it is with my back panel, but it is supposed to be an 1/8 inch end mill, not a 1/4. Okay. So this is our side profile of our box. 2 halves, then we just, we put a top, bottom, and everything. Now the top piece, we still have to make the top piece. We still have to make, we're not doing that tonight. We still have to make the 2 drawer fronts with our 3D decorative design on them, and figure out how the bottom drawer is gonna, we need it to hinge open. It's just gonna drop right down so the cutting board can slide right out, slide right in, it folds up. So that'll be hinged. So we got to do our 2 fronts. We have to, we could look at the same time that we do our 2 fronts, we could look at creating a 3D carve on the tambour door itself and how we would accomplish that. But right now, this is our part 1, V1, whatever. This is our side of our box. And I really, really wish, or not wish, but by next week, we'll have SketchUp so we can draw this in a 3D and see the finished piece, right? How everything comes together and all and everything. But that is where we're at here. And so we're going to hit save on this. And I really just, let me get rid of this because that's not part of, that was just an example. But that's our numbers here that we're working with. This was just some of the math to show the formulas and all that stuff. But what's in the box, that's the important part. That's the magic. Okay. All right. So take a screenshot of that. Pause it. Take a screenshot. Take a picture with your cell phone, whatever the case may be. Ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank you for hanging out with me tonight. We are going to wrap this up right now. And tomorrow night, we are going to attempt, if anybody saw last week's heart box class, we are creating a heart box. It's a long gift that I was supposed to give to someone a long time ago. They just had a 21st birthday last week, so I really have to get it out and get it done. But during the middle of the class, the stream died like an hour and 19 minutes into the class. The stream just closed. StreamYard just closed it, and there was no recovering. So we're going to recap tomorrow night on the public class. We're going to recap just the first part of that box, and then we're going to conclude it tomorrow. And the files will be available for that. But I'm going to clean everything up here. I'm going to make everything presentable. And if you have version 12, the latest version of version 12, you'll be, and if you have Aspire or VCarve, desktop or pro, if you have version 12, you'll be able to use this file here. Other than that, I'll have the vector files for this and the cutting board and the knife, right? The cutting knife. It's all going to be kind of like an inclusive package and all, but I'll clean everything up and get it all organized and stuff. And I'm actually my goal is the conclusion of this, the wrap up of this project. We're going to talk about other things and all, but the wrap of this project is like actually going out on the CNC and, I'll have some of the parts cut, but cutting some of the parts in the pockets and just having a class and a discussion and things like that and all. Just to let you know, to make up this one side here, based on my speeds and feeds and stuff, 14 minutes, right? It'll take 14 minutes to cut out one of those sides. So let's call it 28 minutes to do the whole thing. And then it's kind of assembly and all that. So that's just the sides. And, another 4 or 5 minutes for the top 2 grooves to fit on the top. Back panel just goes in. The bottom panel just goes in. The cutting board is a pocket cut. So that's another 15 minutes. So, I mean, literally we could, in a class, we could kind of just, assemble and cut and talk and discuss, and we could break it up, or I could have some of the parts already made. So you're not sitting there watching a CNC run, that kind of thing. But my whole goal is I'd like to incorporate the actual build of this into our wrap up and all that stuff. All right, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful evening. I want to thank you very much for hanging out with me. Hopefully I didn't stress your brain too much with that. I know it's confusing, and it's like, dude, I didn't come here to learn math. I came here to learn woodworking. It's the same thing. Yeah. But all right, y'all have a wonderful evening. And we'll chat if I see you tomorrow, or otherwise next week, Wednesday of next week. See you later. Bye, everybody.